Welcome to another lecture session related to economics. Today we are going to discuss the concept of indifference curve, or we call it indifference curve analysis. We will also discuss its main properties. So for simple and precise lecture sessions, do like, share and subscribe my channel Kanwal Sidhu. An indifference curve is the curve which represents various combinations of two commodities that give the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. As the satisfaction given is same, so the consumers prefer them equally. That's why it is also known as the indifference curve. We will discuss this with the help of a table and a graph. Let's take an example by taking the two commodities X and Y. This is shown in the table. As the consumption of X commodity is increased, then Y commodity consumption decreases. But in all these cases, the level of satisfaction remains the same. So in the graph, IC is the indifference curve. The slope of indifference curve is also referred to as marginal rate of substitution, that is MRS. And mathematically, MRS can be calculated by delta Y upon delta X, that is change in commodity Y divided by the change in commodity X. And MRS measures how eager a consumer is to trade one commodity for the another. Next are the properties of indifference curve, which are quite similar to those of the isoquants that we have discussed in the previous lecture session. The indifference curve is convex to the origin. The main reason behind this property is diminishing marginal rate of substitution. But in case of perfect substitutes, the indifference curve is straight line, and in case of complementary goods, the indifference curve is right angled curve. Then the slope of indifference curve is always downward from left to right. As we know that one commodity is increased, the amount of other commodity reduces, but satisfaction level remains the same. Then the higher indifference curve represents high level of satisfaction. As in the figure, IC5 has a greater satisfaction level as compared to IC4. And similarly, IC4 greater than IC3, IC3 greater than IC2, and so on. Lastly, two indifference curves never intersect, as two indifference curves cannot represent the same level of satisfaction. So these are the main properties of indifference curve.